You mentioned masks, man. I want to ask you about masks because I definitely find in my life there's a lot of times I was even at a meeting just the other day and I kind of found myself like really uncomfortable, trying to figure out who I needed to be in this meeting. Not the true authentic Sam, like, okay, do I need to show up like really calm and quiet? Do I just need to show up really like, and I guess maybe there's some of that that's valuable, but it was a really uncomfortable, weird place. I was like, who do I need to be to impress this person? Because it's someone I want to impress, right? It's someone I want to do a deal with. How did you realize like you had these masks on? How did you begin removing them to kind of strip down to this true sense of self where you are calm, you can be peaceful? What did that look like for you? And what advice would you have for someone that's like, cool, sounds good. Where do I start?
Yeah, right. Oh, that's such a great question, Sam. I think first of all, for every person, the journey is going to feel a little bit different. Okay. And so for me, my truth is that I've just learned most of my lessons the hardest conceivable way, either through being nearly faced with bankruptcy or nearly faced with, divorce or, nearly faced with death. These are things that I've been up against many times in my life. And there's one person who's at the center of that, and that's this guy named Courtney Atkinson. And so I think, first of all, we just have to take responsibility that, it's us at the center of all this. Okay. Pain and pleasure, good and bad, accomplishment and failure. There's one commonality, and that's me and the way that I've showed up that got me here, good or bad. I think the second piece of this is remembering that judgment is the enemy of happiness, right? And what I mean by that is that I had to learn that there is really no good or bad. Okay. There are days stacked on days, time stacked on time. And I needed to just move through this space with as good energy as I could possibly have in this particular day, recognizing that my journey is perfect. I'm doing everything at the right time for me. All these things are happening for me, not to me. And just releasing this idea of judgment about what was happening in my life. And really what that did for me was just created a lot less anxiety, a lot less stress. And for me, like as I said to you, why or how, what was it for me? It was really a matter of trying to save my life. Like, Sam, I haven't disclosed this a whole bunch, but the truth was that there were nights. I mean, there's about this month-long period where I had a couple guaranteed sales pile up and I'd forgotten about them, and I had to come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in like 2 days, a couple times in a row. As you can imagine, my wife wasn't entirely impressed with that. I had 2 new babies in the house. I wasn't sleeping. Like, all the things were piled up. I had high blood pressure. I was having panic attacks. I was having chest pain, and I was like literally laying in bed for the span of like probably over a 2-week period. I had this thought like 5 or 6 times at night, typically right around 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, man, this whole family and this whole world is going to be way better off with my $5 million insurance policy than they are with me showing up, making these stupid ass decisions that put me and my family in these critical positions all the damn time. And like, I was like, man, like, I don't want to live like this, bro. Like, this sucks. Okay. And if I'm having these thoughts, surely to goodness, I'm not going to deliver on them. Like that wasn't really like a possible outcome for me, but it was just a sign of the degree of pain. And I'm like, well, there has to be another way. Like, what am I doing that's consistently getting me in these types of positions? And ultimately what I settled on, Sam, was that my decision-making was being driven by fear, right? I was scared that I wasn't making enough progress. I was scared that I wasn't moving fast enough. I was scared that I was running out of time. And so everything that I saw seemed like an opportunity. And I would say yes to all these things that I really should have been saying no to. In some cases, guaranteed sales. In other cases, business partnerships. In some cases, people that were joining the team. In other cases, things that I was doing instead of choosing to do other things with my time. All of which were based on fear. All of which were consistently getting me in these places that were not moving me further down the road. And what I had to settle on was like, what choices are you making, Courtney, that are for your future, that are for good, that are based on you believing 10 out of 10, 100% that you're good enough just the way that you are, that your path is perfect, that you're on the right track, and that you're doing the right things that you need to accomplish your goals. And once I realized that I needed a different approach. Otherwise, I was literally either going to, I was going to die in some capacity through a heart attack or through driving or some insane stuff that I was up to. I just had to change the way that I looked at the universe. And it sounds like a very simple thing, but this is what I coach in my business. It's like, listen, man, everything else gets easier when you adopt this philosophy. Like the decision making that you make in your business is critical. I'm not saying it's not. You got 1,000 things that you could potentially choose to do, but the most critical thing that I share with anybody is that decision making gets so much easier when you do the work on the 6 inches between here and get to the point where you're just at peace, you feel good, and you have faith that it's all going to work out. And you stop exercising from a place of fear and you start exercising from a place of abundance, and then just watch these things show up from you. And then it's a matter of like, no, 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 yes. No, 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 yes. Whereas before it was yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no, overwhelm, nearly broke, nearly having a heart attack. And for me, I was like, okay, enough of that. I just got to reverse this strategy, take a different approach, have a different philosophy, and say no a lot more than I was. Does that answer that question, you think?
So beautifully.